my hair okay
Yeah, my hair is
for the podcast?
perfect.
All right. Welcome to the second episode of Creative Spin, where we talk about anything to do with creative, from work to life to
In
whatever,
between.
anywhere in between and above and beyond. Because that's what we do. That's who we are. My name is Jamie Iria, and you, my dear friend.
And I'm Anna Fernandez Iria.
Oh, what a coincidence!
I know, eh?
I know.
Common name.
Yeah, we tackled this on the first episode. Anyways, this is our second episode. Today, I thought, since I do have a creative agency, I thought about, how about us talking a little bit about branding
Yes.
and what the word branding means and how important branding is for companies. Mm-hmm. And not only, I mean, nowadays we have a lot of personal branding going on. And essentially the core of everything is kind of the same, mm-hmm. which is how do you communicate what you want to sell or yourself or your company? How do you communicate it the best way for mm-hmm. people, for your audience to understand, for your clients?
Is it still something people don't fully understand, how the branding process works?
I think everybody in a weird way, mm-hmm. I think everybody understands what branding is. I think that there's confusion as to how important it is for a company or a product or a person. Because the bottom line, what branding really is the best way to communicate who you are or what you're doing or what you're selling, right? Mm-hmm. If that is blurry, if people don't understand that concept, then they don't understand what you're trying to tell them.
Yeah.
It's I kind of compare it to when people are trying to tell a story and they kind of go around the block and they lose themselves on the side stories, on the side characters, and they lose focus on what they're trying to tell. Basically, the other person isn't going to understand the story, right? When it comes into your brand, it's kind of the same thing. If people don't understand what you do, there's going to be an issue. Mm-hmm. If people have to ask you, after they look at your website, after they take a glance of your social media platforms, they still have to ask you, but what is it that you exactly do?
There's something wrong with that picture.
Well, there might be something wrong with the picture. Mm-hmm. Or if they say, oh, I was checking you, is this your account on Facebook or is it somebody else's account? That's a big red flag right there. And that's where branding comes in, right? Because when you have the proper branding on your company or for your company or your product, that question of, is this your platform? That shouldn't even be a thing. Mm-hmm. Because it should be very evident, right? Now, what's happened throughout these last few years with, online being the thing it is now, as opposed to printing back in the day, is that you now have a lot more platforms and a lot more places where people can find you. So the importance of your image to be consistent is even greater right now, because otherwise you're going to create that confusion, right? And I know that back in the day, and even today, the logo is very important.
But it's not the only thing about branding.
But that's not the only thing about branding. A logo is your identity, your icon, that's basically your badge, right? This is who I am.
It's sort of
right?
like the first thing I see.
But that's what's going to connect everything. But then it's all the elements that surround that logo, your identity. That's what branding is. So essentially, the style that you're designing all your material, it needs to flow. It needs to have some consistency, because if you come out with a flyer that looks one way and then your website looks another way, and then you're going to have your social media platforms looking a completely different way, that's where the confusion is going to stand in, right? People are going to go, they caught you with they caught their eye on your website, and then all of a sudden they look at your social media and it doesn't connect, and that's where the confusion might start, right? The logo might be the same, but the overall feeling of what the company is might be the wrong one. So that's why it's extremely important to be consistent with that, you know? And by being consistent, you need to actually continuously, just try to hit those markers all the time, because if people running around upstairs, this is the beauty of home office studio. But let me just, side note, even our other office,
it's the same thing.
It's the same thing. You can hear everything.
You can actually hear like floors above or floors below.
It's an older building, so it's kind of interesting how that works. But anyways, back to this. Back to the branding. I think the important part is really keeping that consistency, right? Brand consistency. And like there's so many examples of companies out there that you don't even need to see what the there's some other sounds going on. There's so many things going on today. This is only the second podcast.
This is how creative we are.
Got to keep on going. There's no stopping.
Creative spin, really.
There's music.
There's stuff.
And but what I was trying to say is, you see it all the time when you know how you look at. I'll give you Apple as an example. I just came into my mind right now. You look at an Apple ad on paper or online, and
you know it's Apple
without even seeing the logo there. Sometimes you'll get that feeling that it kind of looks like an Apple thing, right? Or when you even see other companies trying to do something that's similar to Apple, Apple is what comes to your mind, because they were able to continue that style of imagery and how everything is so clean all the time on their ads and all their
That's actually an interesting thing. Like simple and clean seems to be what appeals, right?
My opinion is that it is the best way, but the more confusion, the more things you have going on, the more the message is going to get confused towards your end client, right? They're not going to understand it as well. So, being able to achieve that point to which even without a brand, without a logo, you can say this looks like Apple, that's the end goal for anybody, right?
Yeah.
But we're talking about one of the biggest companies out there. So, they've definitely worked hard for that and they've achieved that point. But there are other companies out there that are at the same level. And you can say, oh, that looks like Coca-Cola, or that looks like whatever. But the end goal is really is to create that imagery around. So when now you're creating a brand, you need to really think about, okay, where am I going to be? Yes, I'm going to have a store, or I'm going to have a location or 2 or 3, but I'm also going to need to advertise. Where am I advertising, and how I'm going to advertise, and how well is that consistency going to be in order for clients out there to understand this is company X or Y or Z, right? So
again, I just like, if I have a new business, or it might not be so new, but I'm thinking of rebranding, whatever the case may be, that's where I need to approach you and sit down with you and say, what is it that I need to do because as someone from the outside, I may have this awesome idea about, whatever it is that I want to put out their product or service. And I want people to be able to identify me that way, the way you identify Apple and so on and so forth. But I don't know the steps, I guess. So this is where I need to contact you, and you need to tell me, okay, this is what we do, right?
You don't need to contact me specifically.
Well,
you need
I'm
to contact
you.
You need to contact somebody that understands the marketing side. So that's when you get into the next level. Listen, I'm the first one to say, if you're starting off a business, you don't have enough money, and this is kind of going against designers in a way, because I'm saying, you know what, if you can't afford one right away, don't put yourself into a hole when you're starting your business just because you need to pay X, Y, or Z designer X amount of money to get a good logo done. that is the best approach. I honestly think that most people, when they're thinking about starting a business, they should actually start thinking about those costs as well. A lot of times, I think people just think about the store, what we're going to have in it, the service, the people. Everything's important, but for some weird reason,
They don't
branding
budget
is
for
put
that.
aside and there's no budget for that. So my big beef when it comes to that is people should really start thinking about branding right from the get-go. They should really start putting that money aside so that when the time is right, when you're starting, just before you start your business, you know, before you open the doors, you know who you are and you know the image that's going to be out there is going to be the correct one. The last thing you want to do is open a store or an office or whatever it is, and then let me think about the branding because now I got to think about that.
So like each business and each product / service is unique in its own, but if I'm thinking of doing that, I'm going to put money aside for
Let's pretend you put money aside
for branding. What are, obviously logo is probably number one of the list, but what are the essential must-haves in that branding package for me to kick off that campaign and promote who I am?
Well, you need to see in what market you're in, right? And you don't want to look like everybody, but you don't want to look like something that you're not. Meaning, there are some business, if you're like in a construction business versus you're a high-end tailor. I mean, those two businesses are completely different. And the way that they represent themselves, they do it in a different way. So, you're not going to have, blocky letters on your logo if you're going to be dealing with, fashion.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or you can, but it needs to be done in a nice way. This is where, a lot of times, and I get it that clients want to, it's their business. It's something very personal. They're putting a lot of money, a lot of time into it. It's a big investment. And I get that they want to be a part of the process, but sometimes they're too much a part of the process, meaning that leave the designing and the marketing aspect to the professionals and trust them a little bit. I see this a lot where, just because you have a computer and you know how to work with Photoshop doesn't make you a designer. There are a lot of other components that make you a graphic designer, somebody that understands branding and marketing, right? It's not just opening that, choosing a nice font, putting a color that you love because you when you were 8 years old, you liked orange and you think that that's going to be your color. That might not be the best choice for your business, right? That might not be the best way to
put it out there.
And the message for your business. So think about it, right? Think about, bring whatever you like to the designer, Actually, as a designer, I want my clients. I actually have a couple of exercises that I go through when I'm talking to a client when we're discussing a logo design, in which I want to know what they like. Because you don't also want to create something from a designer's perspective that has nothing to do with what the person wants. Because at the end of the day, it's going to be their business. They're going to have to live with it and they have to like it. Right?
So as your client, I should bring a list to say, listen, this is what I like. These are the colors I like. Or, I'm thinking of something like this.
Because that's the beginning of the conversation.
Okay.
Right? At the end of the day, you can bring me 10 different fonts and you've chosen 2 colors and you chose a couple of examples of other logos that you liked. You know what? A couple of those fonts might be good. A couple of those colors might work. And you know what? That idea that company had might be good too. Now it's about us getting all those things, those components, those elements together and
that's what I trust you
That's when you need to trust the person to do it. Because if the designer doesn't have those blocks to kind of put together, it's almost like putting a Lego piece together, right? Or a puzzle. So we need that information. That's why there's a consultation before we design a logo, because we can go in any direction. And then, after 20 logos, we know that the client doesn't like any one of those 20 logos. And now we start doing, it's kind of like working in reverse.
Yeah.
I love it when I love to hear when clients say, we trust you, do whatever you feel like. You're the expert. I love that, but you need to give me a little bit of information because I need to know where to go, right? Because we could do a million different types of design. So, and then it's really looking at what kind of business you're in and what kind of product you're doing or service and really manipulate that the best way to represent your brand, right? And then all the other elements. It's not just the logo. Once the logo is done, it means that we've gotten that icon done for you and that's going to be your symbol. Now all of a sudden you have colors there, either 1 or 2 or 3 colors. I wouldn't go more than that, but you might have a couple of colors there. So those are going to be your main colors. So guess what? That's going to transfer into your website. Those colors are going to transfer into your social media. Those colors are going to transfer into your print stuff, So everything needs to start connecting that way.
Yeah.
And now, what kind of images do you have? Another thing that I see a lot of clients making the mistake is not having those images ready. Let's say, as an example, if you're opening a shoe store, or I don't know, shoe store might have not been the perfect example, but any kind of store, right? Let's say you're selling products to the public. Well, you want to probably, to start things off, you want to get a photographer, a professional, to come in, take those nice looking shots, make sure that it looks the way you want it to look, that it represents the products the way you want them to be represented.
That as a buyer, I look at them and I want to buy them.
You want to buy them. And then you're going to use that. But the style of that photographer, if you find the right style, and sometimes you might have to hire 2 photographers, 3 photographers. And it's not because the first or the second one were bad.
It's about style.
They're not aligning with your style. And that's also very important. That style has to be the same, right? So don't stick to just one photographer. If you don't feel like, something is off, something doesn't feel right, get somebody else. It's okay. You won't hurt their feelings if you just say, your style is amazing, but I don't think it works well with what I have in my vision, right? They have to understand. If they don't, they're just jerks.
Well then.
Well, it is. It is what it is.
Yeah.
If you know what, I can draw. I have a style of drawing. If you come up to me and you say, you know what, I want you to draw a manga character, it's not going to happen. I might get it close, but I'm not a manga designer, illustrator, right? So not going to happen. That's what I mean. Not every photographer takes pictures the same way, right? Yeah. So pay attention to that. Make sure that, you hire somebody to take 5-10 pictures. That's enough. Because that will be enough for you to take a look at them and say, okay, you know what? This guy, he sees my vision. I think this guy's just working for his portfolio, because that happens a lot too. Yeah. Especially when you're hiring people that want to build their portfolio, you're definitely going to see that, right? I think, and this is coming from a guy that, also likes building his portfolio, but sometimes we tend to look at things only in our way, and then because we're not in that business, we don't understand that business as well. The bottom line, communication. It's like a relationship. It's the same thing. If you don't have good communication, the message isn't going to come across the right way, right? So, and you touched on something just a little while ago, which is, if I want to rebranding is something that I'm seeing a lot. And I think it's got to do with, a lot of companies have started 30, 40 years ago, right? And now we're going into a newer generation. We need to use our logos in different mediums. Like all of a sudden now you have icons on social platforms that you need to put your logo in, which, if you have a really nice long logo that somebody designed 40, 50 years ago. That was okay
on a newspaper.
That was great for a newspaper heading or whatever. It worked back then. If you try to put that into a little icon on your Instagram, it's not going to work, right? So now here we go. We need to rebrand. But you know what? That's fine. I always say try not to rebrand a lot. You're okay to rebrand every once in a while to adjust to changes in your business, or to just changes with time, or you know what, new platforms are out there now, and we need to adjust it.
Just to that.
That's fine. You start doing small adjustments, but don't go from something, looking like a big black block to you know what I mean.
triangle
Like,
kind
don't
of
go
thing, yeah.
drastic. That's
Yeah.
what I'm trying to say.
And how often should you do that? Because you also,
I don't think there's a rule for that.
yeah.
I don't think there's a rule for that. I think it really comes down to what you needed to say, right? You look at brands like, I don't know, we could talk about Starbucks as an example. You look at the first Starbucks logo and the logo that they currently have. Possibly in the video, we might put those up on the podcast. Kind of hard. You can Google it and try to
Read our minds.
Yeah. Try to figure it out. But if you look at the first one versus the latest one, there's a humongous difference. And in between, there were a lot of
gradual
little changes.
process,
There were a lot
yeah.
of little changes that got to where they are today. But the bottom line is the center point of that logo is still there,
Yeah.
right? And that's where what I mean about don't drastically change what you have, because then you're going to create confusion, right? Confusion in the sense that if people are used to seeing a red small square logo and all of a sudden now you're yellow triangle,
It might,
people are going to go, what's going on here? Is this even the same company? To the same point is, you want to be careful how you evolve and change. And we were having this conversation before we opened the mics. We were listening to someone on YouTube that was talking about, brand confusion and what she did wrong when she was branding herself and her shows and all of that kind of stuff. And good for her, she realized that, it's okay. Everybody makes mistakes. But sometimes we make the mistakes without even thinking about it, because in a lot of cases, you only find these things out afterwards when people start talking to you about it.
which was her case, right?
Which was her case. People are going in to watch one show and they're watching the other show just because it had the same, one of the names was the same, but the other one wasn't. And for us, we're in it, we're producing things. It makes total sense. Of course, this one is this one is that. But for somebody that's on the outside, that might be very confusing, right? They might not know the difference, and that's what was happening to her. And she saw the mistake.
She merged
She
both
reached
things.
out to a designer friend of hers, and they've come down to that conclusion. They're now doing the branding that I was talking about in terms of making sure that everything flowed well. And now I'm pretty sure that, people are still going to go onto her website or video or podcast or whatever, and they're going to look at that and go, oh, this is different. But at least now it's different to the point where it
Pretty
really
much
sets
the same thing. Yeah.
but it sets it apart.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? So that's where it's important to pay attention to this. And I can't stress it enough. I hear time and time again people saying, oh, my son can do this and my daughter can do this, or my nephew, or this and that. And I get that. We're coming from a side of, I have somebody that has a little bit of art and can do it. And in some cases, they can actually do a great job. I'm not saying that everybody's bad at it. No, you don't have to be a designer to be, to create something interesting. But my bottom line is if you are trying to go into a more professional look, you should seek professional help, right?
Makes sense.
If you broke your arm, you're not going to talk to an electrician, right? So you're going to go and talk to a doctor. Kind of the same thing. And I mean, that's about it. I mean, when it comes to branding, I know this is one of those, I get really passionate when I'm talking about branding, because it's something that I really feel like
You've
everybody
blogged a lot about it too, so
True. No, but I feel it's important, right? I think people should pay more attention to it. Like I said in the beginning of the podcast, I think people should really, when you're starting your business or a new product or whatever it is, put that money aside and try to think, okay, you know what? This is going to be so important for me because it's going to dictate how my website's going to look, my store is going to look. Because, instead of painting the wall orange, you might paint it blue because your logo is blue and it makes more sense that way. It's the little things, that people only afterwards start debating. And it's all about the little how little things can mean something to you, but it will mean something to somebody else. So always try to spread the word before you actually solidify everything down on paper and all that. Hey, what do you think of this? Grab Mary, grab Joe, grab everybody and just say, what do you think about this? Because you'll be surprised.
But it's important to grab people that don't automatically go with a negative thing.
No, that's going to be hard because everybody's
Because sometimes you ask a person for an opinion and the first thing they try to look for is what is wrong with that something.
Well, they feel obligated that now they have to give an opinion. But but at the same time,
get an honest opinion.
Get an opinion, but at the end of the day, you're going to make the final decision. So you need to make that final decision, right? But that being said, I mean, today I think I'm not going to say anything else.
We'll come back to it.
We'll come back to branding. I think I want to do another episode where I'm going to talk about a little bit of branding on social media or online. I think online is going to be a good one, so that how different things are nowadays because of all of these platforms and all of the way that we are now looking at the world in a different way. I think that's going to be one of our next episodes. That's it for today.
Yeah.
I think we're good, right?
I think so.
We're good. To all you guys that are listening, thank you for being with us. We're trying to keep these episodes to about 30 minutes. We're just about there. We'll keep looking at the clock so that we don't go over. But also, I think it's important for you guys to hit that little subscribe button. I mean, why not?
And just go, there's something,
someone calling me. And this is what happens here. And we're going to stay creative and we're going to start spinning this and keep going.
To the next level.
To the next level with the ringer in the back there.
See you next
I'll
time.
leave you guys with that. See you on the next one.